Well, a question. When the breath is ragged and the mind shouts, now, who is the one who knows it? Not who feels it only, but who knows it. The wind may crack the shutters, but who sits awake and hears the wind? Now watch the mind as it runs, observe the pulse as it drums, and ask quietly, honestly, where is the I who is aware of all this? Am I in the chest where the thumping is? If I close the eyes and listen, am I in the ribs, in the cartilage, in the throbbing? No, no. Am I in the breath, in the air that seems not to arrive fast enough? The air goes in and out like tides, but am I the tide or the ocean that witnesses the tide? No, no. I am not in the breath. Am I in the head, behind the eyes, in the flicker of thoughts that race? Thoughts streak by like comets, but where is the sky that holds them? Is the sky in the comet? No, no. Then where am I? When I say I, how will you localize that? Now where am I? Am I here in the finger that points? Am I here in the stomach that clenches? Or there in the scalp that prickles? No, no. Panic offers you a map with red arrows and sirens pointing to a single place in the body. Here you are, in danger. But that map is made of sensation and suggestion. It is not the place of the real I. Listen to the old word, absent from the body, present with the Lord. What does it mean except that the I that says I, is not in the physical? I am not in the physical. No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. The body reports, yes, it testifies to pressure and heat and chill. It registers the weather of the nervous system. But the witness of these reports is not contained in the report. The witness is consciousness. And consciousness, in its truth, is God-derived, God-embodied, God-expressed. Be still and know that I am God. Be still in this. I am not in the panic. I am aware of the panic. I am not even in the storm. I am aware of a storm passing. Now understand, we are not setting out to perform magic. There is no trick, no lever to pull. There is only the disclosure of what already is. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Not willpower, not the bravery of clenched teeth, not the manipulation of breath as if it were a talisman. Grace already present, already complete is sufficiency. If sufficiency is the nature of God, and I and the Father are one, then sufficiency is not somewhere else waiting to be imported into me. It is the very isness of the self that knows. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. Therefore I need not fix the storm, for the ocean is not threatened by a wave. Panic makes a loud claim, I am you and I am now. But panic cannot localize the true I. It cannot say where you are. It points to a body, and the body points back to the sky of awareness. In that sky there is room for waves to rise and to fall, without the sea becoming less the sea. In that sky there is the still small voice that is not in the wind, not in the earthquake, not in the fire, but afterward a knowing. Perfect love casteth out fear, not because it battles fear, but because love is the only presence where fear tried to take up residence and found no room. So we begin here with the honest question that dislodges the idol. Where is the I? Not in the symptom, not in the story, not in the stopwatch of emergency. The I abides where God is, and God is where I am. If the I cannot be found in the panic, we can stop negotiating with it. We can withdraw the consent that enthroned it and turn to sufficiency, to the one who says, fear not, for I am with thee. And in that turning, quietly, simply, we begin, having asked, where is the I? and found no dwelling place for it in the surge and in the tremor, we must meet the next temptation, so common, so habitual, that multiplies the suffering. It is the fear of fear, not the first gust of wind that hits the house, but the anxious running about inside, slamming doors, shouting at the storm, piling furniture against windows. The body reports, weather is passing. Then the mind declares, this weather is me, and it must not be, and then judges the judgment and hurries the hurry. That addition is what exhausts you. As ye sow, so shall ye reap. Sow fear into fear, and you reap the compounded harvest of distress. Sow stillness into fear, and you reap the hush that reveals God already present. So hear me, lovingly, firmly. We will not fight. We will not chase relief. We will not dramatize. No, no. We will not talk to the symptom as if it were a power. We will not bargain with time. If this is gone in 60 seconds, I will trust. We will not accuse ourselves. What is wrong with me that I feel this? We will not add a theology of failure to a moment of human weather. The storm does not need your fists. He arose and rebuked the wind and said unto the sea, peace, be still. Notice, peace, be still. He did not beat the ocean into calm. He recognized the supremacy of peace, and it revealed itself. Do not wrestle the storm. Refuse the second fear. This is not passivity. This is obedience to a higher law. It is the same as a pilot who in turbulence does not yank the controls. He holds trim. He trusts the instruments. He abides by the law of lift. You do not outshout wind. You stay with law. In spiritual things, the law is oneness. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Not in scrambling, not in spectacle. The first fear may knock. You need not open the door and then invite in its children of what if, how long, and why me. Let the knock be a knock. Let God be God. Let me place a boundary here, lest zeal run off unguarded. I am not giving you human advice about circumstance. I do not tell you whether to go or to stay, to call or not to call, to do this or that outward thing. I never give human advice. I speak to consciousness. I speak to the awareness that is your true habitation. If an outer step is to be taken, it will be given you cleanly, without panic, as guidance within your oneness. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Our task at this moment is not to meddle with externals, but to stop enthroning fear. What then is our aim in the midst of this weather? Not to win, not to prove strength, not to achieve a record for bravery. Our aim is to become still enough to feel grace operating. The Lord shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. Hear that. You hold your peace. That is your part. You close the doors to the second fear. You refuse the multiplication table of worry. You withdraw consent from the imagination that makes idols of symptoms. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Do not deify the sensation by bowing to it. Do not engrave it upon the altar of your attention. Turn gently, simply to sufficiency. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Quietly, not as a magic charm, but as recognition. God present is enough. Understand how suffering compounds. It is like pressing the accelerator and the brake at once. The engine screams, the vehicle shudders, and you call it danger when it is contradiction. The second fear is the contradiction. 1 foot in trust, 1 foot in terror, and the wheels cannot move. Or think of mathematics. Violate 2 times 2 is 4, and the problem punishes itself. You do not need an angry teacher. Add fear to fear, and you have violated the equation of peace. Withdraw that addition, and harmony reappears as naturally as a corrected sum. Refuse the second fear, and the body will still report. Let it. Clouds cross the sky, and the sky remains vast. You will feel the wind in the branches. You need not become the branch. Holding your peace is not numbing, not suppressing. It is consenting to the truth already announced. I am not in the physical. I am aware of a body reporting, but I am not a prisoner in its report, absent from the body, present with the Lord. In that presence, the noise loses its throne, because the throne was your consent, and you have withdrawn it. When the refusal is real, even a little real, you will notice a small clearing, like a door unlatched. Into that clearing, a simple thing can enter without your forcing it. The breath is not the cure. It becomes a permission slip to yield. A phrase is not a spell. It becomes the password to sufficiency. Not because you fight, but because you stop fighting. Then, as we shall do together, you may take 30 seconds not to make something happen, but to let what is already happening be felt. I wait in a state of receptivity until finally the click comes, not because I struggled, but because I did not add the second fear. Be still and know that I am God. And in that stillness, thy grace already present, already complete, proves itself as immediate practical peace. Now we will take 30 seconds, not to make something happen, but to stop keeping it from happening. There is no occult reason for what I am about to say. It is only comfort, only the removal of distractions. Sit where you are. Let the feet be on the floor, the soles feeling the plain earth of the room. Let the hands rest, not gripping, not arranging on the thighs or the lap, easy, weighty, as though they belonged there, without you helping them. Unclench the jaw. Feel the tongue drop from the roof of the mouth. Let the brow be smooth. Let the eyes be soft or gently closed, not screwed shut, not forced, just as if you were listening to a friend speak in a quiet room. Now, do not try to fix the body. No. This is not a gymnasium. This is a sanctuary of receptivity. If a shoulder moves, let it. If the heart beats loudly, let it. We are not using the body as an altar to fear. We are letting it be what it is while we rest in what we are. Take no thought for your life, not because life is neglected, but because its source is not in your anxious managing. I am not in the physical. I witness the body. I do not live inside its report. Give yourself one slow inhale, ordinary air, nothing special, and one unhurried exhale. Do not count. Do not push. Do not deepen as a technique. The breath is not the cure. It is the permission slip to yield. In that single tide, in and out, you grant yourself leave from personal will, from the manager, from the fixer. It is the spirit that quickeneth, the flesh profiteth nothing. The breath is not the power. It is the door you consent to open, so the power not yours, God's may be felt. If you notice yourself breathing, say inwardly, be breathed. Let grace do the breathing of you. Now the inner posture, desireless receptivity. No bargaining, no demanding, no timeline. Not if this leaves now, I will trust. Not if I feel different in 10 seconds, then I will believe. Desireless. Quiet. As you sit, let the prayer be the prayer of non-interference. Not my will, but thine be done. In this, you are not asking for a condition to change. You are consenting to the presence that is changeless. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Strength is not in you holding on. It is in you letting go of the belief that you must. Let the next breath come if it comes. Let it not come if there is simply stillness. Do not touch it. We are practicing non-meddling. We are cultivating the holy negligence that refuses to tend idols. 30 seconds. That is all. 30 seconds in which you are not the custodian of the universe. 30 seconds in which you are not the custodian of your body. 30 seconds in which God is God and you are present, listening. If thoughts tap at the window, let them tap. If a fear says, hurry, smile inwardly and answer, no, not a bit. You are not refusing life, you are refusing interference. You are refusing the second fear. In this posture, feet grounded, hands quiet, jaw at rest, eyes soft, breath ungoverned, something that is not a technique begins to disclose itself. Sometimes it is a warmth, sometimes a softening of the room, sometimes nothing but a sense that the floor is real and time is not your master. Often a click comes subtle, unmistakable, the inner latch turning, not because you turned it, but because you stopped rattling the door. And then into this cleared place, a word can enter as living, not as a charm. A phrase can be received as truth, not used as leverage. When the body is no longer an altar to fear, the heart becomes an altar to God. In that moment, the password may be spoken, not by a frightened mind, but by the Spirit bearing witness within. And the word of sufficiency will be heard where it has always been, at the center that never trembled. There is a spirit in man, and the inspiration of the Almighty giveth them understanding. We will take that word next. For now, keep the 30 seconds, one posture, one breath, one inward yielding as your simple door to the infinite that needs no help and suffers no hurry. Now the word heard, not used, received, not wielded. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. This is not a charm. This is not leverage. This is not a handle on the machinery of the universe. It is recognition. It is the password that opens not heaven, but our awareness to heaven already present. A password does not create the room behind the door. It grants entrance. The word is nigh thee, even in thy mouth and in thy heart. So we take it on the tongue slowly, reverently, desirelessly, and we let it be the only thought for a moment. Say it once within, slowly. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Pause. Feel the weight of each word as if placing stones to cross a stream. Thy, not mine, not personal reservoir, not human cunning. Grace unearned, unmerited, unmanufactured, divine life. Is, not shall be. Present tense presence. My sufficiency, no lack where thou art. No empty place untouched by fullness. In all things, not in the temple only, not in the quiet hour only, not in the smooth breath only, but in all things. Again, more softly now, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let it be the only thought. If 100 frightened thoughts line up as beggars at the gate, let one true phrase answer them all. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Do you hear the nature of it? Not a future help, not a promise with a date to be set, but present spiritual substance, bread already broken, water already flowing. Give us this day our daily bread. The daily bread is this sufficiency, here, now, without your hurry and without your pushing. You are not creating a supply, you are consenting to be fed. I am not in the physical. I am in conscious oneness. And in my oneness with God, I find sufficiency in all spiritual being and idea. Now, God against superstition. Do not try to make the phrase do something to anything. Do not whisper it over a symptom as if polishing an idol. Do not adjust the world with a sentence. No. You cannot employ a cosmic law. You can only align with it. You did not engineer 2 times 2 is 4. You recognize it and the problem yields. So here, you do not make grace sufficient. You confess that it is. You step back from the throne of manipulation and take the chair of witness. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Let the words be your permission to yield, not your attempt to govern. Again, once more, like rain falling on ground already softened, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Notice what is absent when the phrase is true. There is no bargaining attached to it, no if, no when, no why not. There is only is. This is the humility of the password. It does not ask the door to move. It moves us from outside to in. I am the door, said the Master. Enter then by the recognition of sufficiency. Now, one more caution born of love. Do not crowd the phrase with explanations. Do not load it with your plan. Speak it as a lamb speaks, not as a general commands. Speak it as one who knows that the shepherd goes before. If a picture helps, see the phrase as a cup set beneath a spring. The phrase is not the water, it is the cup. The grace is the water rising of itself, needing no pump, no arm, no mechanism. And then after the words, do not fill the space. Leave the cup beneath the spring. Let silence complete the sentence. We are not afraid of the quiet now, because we are not guarding a vacuum. We are consenting to presence. Say it once more and let it dissolve, not into thought, but into awareness. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then be still. Be still and know that I am God. Wait not as a test, not as a timer, but as one who rests. In that resting, often the unmistakable hush begins. The inner latch that we have not touched may turn, but for now the words have done their work. They have replaced 100 fears with one truth. Let them fall into the silence, and let the silence say, Amen. Now be still, not as absence, but as attendance, not a vacuum, but a listening. Be still as one who has placed the cup beneath the spring and now ceases to rattle the cup. Be still and know that I am God. We are not composing the silence. We are consenting to it. This is active receptivity, alert, gentle, desireless. No clock in the hand, no bargaining in the heart. Simply, speak, Lord, for thy servant heareth. If there is a sound in the room, let it be. If there is a pulse in the wrist, let it be. If the thought says, is it working? Answer with a smile inside and no words. We are not listening for a sensation. We are present to presence. The silence does not shout. It does not advertise. It does not throw sparks. Often it is a quiet shift, a subtle click, as if, without your touching it, the inner latch yields. I wait in a state of receptivity until finally the click comes. What is it? It is the felt exchange of government from personal managing to divine sufficiency, not drama, recognition, a sense that the weight is no longer on your shoulders. The government shall be upon his shoulder. The same room, the same body, the same hour, yet the edge is gone, the tyranny is broken, the storm is no longer in charge of identity. Now hear this. Do not hunt for the click. Do not go fishing in holy waters. The very fishing roils the lake. Be quiet. If thoughts return, and they will, as birds return to familiar branches, do not scold them. Do not chase them. Do not name them as yours. No, no. Let one phrase answer once, and only once, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, and return at once to the stillness. The phrase reopens the door. The silence is where we enter. We are training the mind that it is not the governor here. We are letting the Spirit bear witness with our spirit that we are children of God and heirs, heirs to peace that is not made, heirs to sufficiency that is not earned. What is the evidence? Do not demand a trumpet. Do not demand a parted sea. The evidence may be a slowing of the heart's insistence, a widening of the inner room, one moment of neutrality where panic cannot find a handle. It may be a single breath that arrives without your calling it, as if you had been breathed. It may be no sensation at all, only the clear knowledge that you are not standing guard anymore. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. If all you receive is the smallest quietness, like a lamp turned low, that is enough. A mustard seed is enough to move the mountain of self-government off the throne. Do not despise the day of small things. The small is honest, repeatable, faithful. It will meet you tomorrow as it meets you now. Remain a moment more, not to get, but to abide, absent from the body, present with the Lord. I am not in the physical. I witness a body. I consent to God. In this consent, panic is correctly named, not a master, not an oracle, only a false claim upon identity. It points to the body and says, you are here. The silence points to God and says, I am. Between those two claims you have chosen. In choosing, a throne has changed occupants. I and my Father are one. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my completeness, my security, my peace. If the mind tugs again, do not wrestle. No, no. Let the single phrase answer, once thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, then back into the stillness. We are not counting victories, we are consenting to governance. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. The instrument does not strain to make the music. It rests in tune. So rest now. Allow the click or the absence of click to be as it is. The law holds without your supervision. When you rise from this quiet, you will carry the residue of it like warmth in the hands after holding a cup. Do not name it yours. Do not defend it against the day. Let it speak for itself. And if panic seeks to reclaim the throne with its next weather report, you have learned the map is false. You will not localize the I in a sensation. You will not crown a symptom. You will return one phrase, one silence, to the place where grace is felt as immediate practical peace. And there, quietly, the latch will turn as often as needed. Now let us name what panic tries to do. It tries to put a pin in the map and say, here you are. It rushes to the chest and says, you live here. It points to the breath and says, you are this shortage. It tingles in the hands and whispers, you are electricity out of control. It wobbles the floor under your feet and announces, you are dizziness. No, no. The body reports. The body does not contain the I. A wave is moving through. I am the awareness, not the wave. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. I am not in the physical. Consider it quietly and honestly. If a surgeon opens the body, where will he find the I who says I? In the heart muscle? In the left lung? In a nerve that hums at the wrist? No surgeon has ever yet found any me inside of a body. They find tissue. They find marvelous circuits. They find the instrument delicate, precise, obedient to law, when not tampered with, but they do not find the musician. I am merely the instrument. God is the actor. The life that knows itself as I is not trapped in flesh. It is the consciousness of God expressing. In Him we live and move and have our being. Now take this out of abstraction and into the hour when panic speaks with a stopwatch. The chest is tight, let it report. Do not argue with the report. Reassign identity. The chest says, pressure, heat, hurry. The self says, witness. The tingling comes in the arms like soda water in the veins, and the mind would crown it. Do not crown it. Let it report sensation. The self says, awareness. The room tilts. The floor seems farther than it was. Do not swear allegiance to vertigo. Let it report. The self abides. Be still and know that I am God. Be still in the knowing of what you are not. Practice a short litany until it is a paved road under your feet. I am not in the fear. I am not in the breath. I am not in the racing thought. No, no. I am not in the drum of the heart, nor in the vacuum sigh of the lungs, nor in the quicksilver of the nerve. I witness a body and its weather. I abide in God. When the wave rises, I do not become the wave, I remain the sea. When the cloud thickens, I do not become the cloud. I remain the sky that holds it and is not bruised. Do you see how the tyrant loses its throne when it cannot localize you? Panic's empire is a tiny kingdom of measurements, beats per minute, breaths per minute, seconds on a clock, and it tries to reduce your identity to its borders. Refuse the passport. Your citizenship is in heaven. I and my Father are one. In my conscious oneness with God, I find my completeness, my security, my peace. The body may be a sensitive seismograph of human weather. It may draw zigzags on the paper today and straight lines tomorrow, but the seismograph is not the earth, and the printout is not the self. Now, one more step of honesty. When we believe, I am in this spasm, I am in this gasp, we begin to worship it. We kneel to a sensation as if it had power over being. This is why identity must be restored before law can be spoken. For law, cosmic law, is impersonal, exact, and it does not bend to our idols. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Do not deify the symptom. Do not carve it into a graven image by staring at it until it rules. Return the sensation to its right place as a report, and the I to its right place as awareness in God. Then, and only then, may we speak of law without contradiction. Hold this as the simple, repeatable discernment. A wave is moving. I am not the wave. A signal is reporting. I am not the signal. A body is felt. I am not in the body. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. And in that presence, the throne is secured. From there, we can say with authority and without ego what must be said next. One God, no other. No rival in which the symptom cannot sit as sovereign, and fear loses even the right to whisper. Now we speak of law, not a creed, not a mood, not a theology that warms us on quiet nights and fails us in storm, but cosmic law, impersonal, exact, as certain as 2 times 2 is 4, as unbribable as gravity. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. That is not a suggestion. It is the blueprint of a universe. When you enthrone a rival, you do not anger a capricious God. You contradict a principle, and the contradiction punishes itself. If you drive through the red light, it is not the light that smites you. It is the intersection that answers your denial of order. If you build without foundation, the storm discloses your contempt for rock. So here, when sensation is treated as ultimate, you have installed a God that will govern you poorly, tyrannically, without mercy, because idols cannot bless. Panic's central temptation is simple. Bow to me. Organize your life around me. Measure your worth by my weather report. No, no. Thou shalt have no other gods. Do not deify the symptom. Do not engrave it upon the altar of your attention by counting its seconds and saluting its demands. A false god always asks for sacrifice. Cancel this plan, avoid that room, shrink this life, suspect this friend, mistrust this hour. And the more you pay, the more it demands, because it cannot give. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. That is the commerce of fear. Cosmic law is clean. What you put first orders the rest. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and its order arranges the day. Put fear first, and it arranges the day as a prison. Consider the mathematics. Violate 2 times 2 is 4. And you do not merely get the answer wrong, you lose the solution of the entire problem. It collapses. So too, bow to fear. And your reasoning, your memory, even your breath feel disordered. Not because you are faulty, but because law has been misapplied. Return to principle, and the problem begins to solve itself right before your eyes, with no heroics. Great peace have they which love thy law, and nothing shall offend them. Let me say it plainly, protectively. Do not measure your holiness by how calm your chest feels today. Do not measure your standing with God by how quietly your hands sit or how steadily your legs walk. That is idolatry in a pious robe. Your worth is not a graph. It is not a pulse. It is not a calendar of panic-free days. Your worth is your oneness. I and my Father are one. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. I am not in the physical. I do not live at the mercy of an organ, a gland, a nerve, or a news cycle. I abide where the law is one and the law guards its own. Now hear the double edge. You cannot use this law to get your way any more than you can use gravity to fly by wishing. You align with it, and it lifts you by being itself. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Do not bargain with law. If I behave, remove the tremor. Do not threaten law. If it stays, I will despair. Yield to law. Thou alone art God. In that yielding, fear loses jurisdiction because the throne it sat upon was attention, and attention has turned. And mark this bridge into the next step. Having one God is not abstraction. Where God is first, love appears, not sentiment, not moral pride, but love that loosens the inward clutch. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God and thy neighbor as thyself. The two are one law. When God is first, the hand opens, the breath is shared, the neighbor is seen, and the self shrinks to its right size, an instrument through which grace flows. Love dissolves the fist that panic squeezes into your chest. Love refuses the economy of idols because it wants nothing, takes nothing, fears nothing. In that love, fear has no throne to sit upon, no tax to levy, no altar to ascend. One God, no rival. One law, no loophole. And in that holy order, sufficiency proves itself as quiet, immediate peace. Panic is self-compression. It folds the horizon down to the rim of your ribs. It narrows the world to me and my air, me and my pulse, me and my clock. The thought scales come out. Am I better? Am I worse? Am I safer? Am I failing? It is a contracting spiral, and it feeds on its own circumference. Fear hath torment. It torments by tightening, by making a small self carry a large burden, by convincing you that life depends upon your cleverness in this instant. No, no. Life is God. I am not in the physical. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. The cure for the clenched fist is not more clenching, it is opening. Love opens. And love opens without strain, because love is law, not effort. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, not as sentiment, not as moral decoration, but as the very blueprint of freedom from self-compression. Here is the mystery that is no mystery when practiced. As attention turns from the private theater of panic to the shared life of God, the circle widens by itself. Love is expansion without pushing. It is not a project, but a recognition. When I behold the neighbor in God, I am freed from worshiping a sensation in me. When I acknowledge that the life that breathes me is the life that breathes thee, the idol of my managing begins to topple. We, being many, are one body in Christ, and every one members one of another. In that awareness, the chest has no throne to occupy. The soul turns outward, and the very turning is release. Perfect love casteth out fear, because it loosens the cramped identity that fear feeds upon. So a micro practice, simple as a window opened, in the midst of the squeeze, right there, not later. Let the eyes rest softly on someone near you, or summon gently the face of one you love, or even the quiet memory of a stranger on a bus. Do not project. Do not improve them. Do not persuade God to do anything. No. No. This is non-interference. This is blessing as recognition. Let the heart say, wordlessly if possible, the Lord is at hand. Acknowledge silently, the place whereon thou standest is holy ground. If a phrase comes, let it be a whisper of truth, never a wand. Thy grace is thy sufficiency here. Then let even that dissolve into a seeing of presence. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. You are not sending a current. You are lifting the shade that your self-concern drew, so the light that is already shining may be felt where you are tempted to fear. Notice what happens in that instant of honest blessing. Comparison slackens. Competition, even with your own yesterdays, becomes absurd. When I want nothing you have, and you want nothing I have, peace becomes possible, inevitable, because we have returned to principle. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Sufficiency ends, the hungry scanning of faces and futures, ends the secret commerce of fear that counts and hoards and suspects. In sufficiency, the hand that was clenched over self opens to receive and to give with the same motion. You find yourself breathing as if with someone, not against something. Sometimes there is even the quiet click, the sense that the inner latch, without your rattling, has turned because love widened the room. Do not mistake this for philanthropy or for psychic outreach. It is neither. It is obedience to law. Inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these, ye have done it unto me. To bless your neighbor is to acknowledge God where panic wanted an idol. It is to honor the single life until management falls away. Then the bridge appears without your building. Instrumentality. I am not here to run this moment. I am here to be transparent to the one who runs all. Let grace do the breathing of you. Let God love his own through you. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give unto you. Not a human peace traded for outcomes, but divine peace that flows where self is not obstructing the river. Hold this as a living rule. Love opens the clenched fist of self, and panic cannot thrive in openness. When the inward grip threatens to close, turn outward in holy recognition, without fuss, without drama. Thy grace is our sufficiency. Then be quiet. The law will keep itself. The neighbor and the self will be found one in God. And in that oneness, fear has no province, no tax to levy, no altar to demand. Now, let the pivot be clean. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. The government shifts shoulders. The government shall be upon his shoulder. When panic tightens its belt and orders you to manage air and muscle in second hand, do not accept the portfolio. No, no. You are not the foreman of respiration. You are not the sheriff of the pulse. You are not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Instrumentality is not weakness, it is right order. An instrument does not play itself. It rests in tune and consents to be sounded by the musician. Let grace do the breathing of you. See how the willful approach betrays itself. You count and you command. In for 4, out for 6. As if numbers were sovereignty, you scold the ribs. You threaten the throat. You try to hold the ocean in a teacup and call it calm. No, no. Take no thought for your life. Which of you, by taking thought, can add 1 cubit unto his stature? Willpower is the second fear, wearing a badge. It adds load to load. It multiplies struggle by instructing the body to do what the spirit does of itself. It is God which worketh in you both to will and to do of his good pleasure. Yield to that working. Yield until you can feel the difference between pushing and being carried. Here is the holy pair that opens the door without your rattling it. First, the password of sufficiency. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then, as the echo of permission, the surrender that removes the hand from the wheel. Live thou my life. Fulfill thyself in me. Do not use these as handles on machinery. Do not lay them like tools upon the chest. Speak them as one who acknowledges a presence already present, a life already living. The words are not levers, they are consent. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Live thou my life. Fulfill thyself in me, and then be still enough to be breathed. What does surrender feel like? Not a feint, not a trance, not a trick. Less effort, more space. A lifting of the floor that felt too far away. The same room, the same chair, but an ease as if the air had remembered how to arrive without orders. A quiet safety not dependent on what the wrist reports. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. The with is the safety. The with is the widening. You sit, and there is room for you and your neighbor and your hour inside God. Sometimes it is as if the breath comes from behind you, or from above you, or from nowhere at all, and you know, without fireworks, that you have ceased being the maker and have become the made. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. And this is non-interference. Do not issue orders to organs. Do not coax a nerve as if it were a child. Do not bargain with a gland. No, no. Be still and know. Let the click come or not come, and do not grade God. The instrument does not say to the violinist, play C now, softer there. The instrument trusts the hand and the score. You are that instrument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, the life of you is God's life expressing. In him we live and move and have our being. When the question rises, but what if this stays? What if the edge returns? Gently answer with the same order you have learned. I am not in the physical. I am the awareness through which God lives his own life. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Live thou my life. Fulfill thyself in me. We will speak presently of return, because weather returns and clocks return and habits visit the doorstep again and again. But mark this now. Relief is not achieved by willpower. It is received through surrender. Surrender is not quitting. It is rightful placement. It is the psalmist laying down a sword that was never his and finding a rod and a staff already at work. It is the breath arriving as gift, not as wage. It is the chest unthroned and the heart enthroned. God is the actor. You are the instrument. Let grace do the breathing of you. And when the weather knocks again, and it will, you will know the door that opens is the same. One password, one surrender, one stillness. When the weather returns, and it will do not sign for the package as if it were addressed to your identity, return is not failure. Return is the practice. Storms circle, clocks reset, tides move out and in. You are not the barometer. You are not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. So when the old edge lifts its head at the sink, in the doorway, in the aisle of a market, do not hold court. Do not open the ledger of yesterday's courage or tomorrow's predictions. No, no. One breath, one phrase, one silence. Here is your simple loop. One natural breath, without counting, without forcing. It is the permission slip, not the cure. One phrase, once, as recognition, not incantation. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then silence, 30 seconds if you can, 3 if that is what the moment gives, alert, desireless, consented, repeat as needed, but never as a drumbeat against the storm. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. The loop is not a weapon. It is a returning to government rightly placed. Now the discipline that will spare you much unnecessary suffering, do not check, do not scan the chest the way a sentry paces a wall. Do not consult the wrist every 10 heartbeats as if it were a prophet. That is the second fear, the fear of whether fear is leaving, and it multiplies itself by inspection. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Body checking is devotion to arrival. Refuse the ritual. Turn the eyes of the heart from the idol to the law, from the graft to the God. One breath, one phrase, one silence. The throne stays rightly occupied. And about time. Do not postpone peace to the moment the last sensation withdraws its claim. Grace is not an arrears to be collected at the end of a storm. Grace is the air of now. Now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. Give us this day our daily bread. Sufficiency lives only in the present tense, in the middle of the wobble, in the middle of the line at the post office. Sufficiency is intact because God is not waiting for calmer weather to be God. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea now. The symptom may continue its report. That is none of your business. Your business is consent. How many times a day? As many as the door is knocked. Pray without ceasing. This is not strain, it is remembrance. 100 returns, if that is the weather, without drama, without diary, no marks on the wall, no stars for performance, no grief for the cycle. When the impulse arrives to narrate again, I thought I had conquered this. Stop the tongue before it forms the idol. No, no. Conquest is not your work. Consent is. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then be still long enough for the click or the quiet beyond the need for click. As you keep this loop, small evidences begin to thread themselves through the day, not fireworks, not headlines. You notice you did not abandon the cart in the aisle. You finished the errand. You answered the phone with kindness instead of apology. You sat through the meeting and, for a span you cannot measure, forgot to be a patient and was simply a presence. The edges come as before, and yet they govern less and sometimes not at all. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. That keeping proves itself in these quiet ways. So let return be holy. Each recurrence is another invitation to the same practice, the same password, the same stillness. One breath, one phrase, one silence, without struggle, without spectacle. We are not assembling a case to convince God. We are consenting to be convinced by God. And as consent deepens through repetition, you will find that peace arrives in advance of circumstance, that sufficiency is known before outcome changes. This is how the law proves itself quietly, faithfully, here and now. How then shall you know that the principle is not poetry but law? By their fruits ye shall know them. Not by fireworks, not by headlines, not by a body suddenly made of glass and light. No, no. Grace proves itself in quiet, repeatable shifts. A breath that was being managed loosens and arrives of itself. The exhale grows longer than the inhale without your counting it into being. The shoulders, which had been deputized as gods, remember they are shoulders, and settle a quarter-inch toward earth. A small space appears between the frightened thought and your consent to it, just enough to choose a different king. Urgency steps back one pace. You find that a sentence can end without racing to the next. You can hear another voice in the room. You can set down the glass without clatter. These are not tricks. These are fruits. Attend to the subtle. The jaw unhooks. The belly, once braced as if for a blow, finds that it can be soft and you do not fall apart. The eyes, which had been hunting, begin to rest and to see. There is a sense, sometimes only for a moment, that you are wider than the skin, that the room is roomy again, that time has been returned to the present tense. The click may come, the small turning of an unseen latch, or there may be only a quiet rightness that needs no sign. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. You did not invent that peace. You stumbled into the river already, running, and surrendered your management of it. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. In that oneness, these little changes are the natural result of law-keeping itself. Train the eye to love these evidences by a simple discipline that does not become a burden. After an episode, when you are able, 10 minutes later, an hour later, write a single line, no more. Where did grace appear? Not an autopsy, not a chart of beats and minutes, one line of witness, not analysis, longer exhale at the sink, remembered the phrase before standing, saw the clerk as neighbor, and the clutch loosened. Did not check the wrist for 5 minutes and nothing cracked. Keep it that small so that the soul is trained to recognize presence, not to glorify procedure. This is not a journal of symptoms. It is a register of sufficiency, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, saith the Lord. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Write it once, witness it once, and close the book without grade or blame. Let me offer a small testimony, the kind that occurs on ordinary streets. A woman wrote no drama in her words of stepping into a narrow corridor where an elevated door was taking its time. The ribs lifted as if to sprint without legs. The palms fizzed. There was that old order to run. Right there, without bargaining, she allowed one natural breath, the permission, not the cure. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then 30 seconds of stillness, eyes soft, no counting, no checking, no heroics. The door opened, she stepped in. She stood near the back and let others find their spots. On the second floor, she realized the shoulders had lowered. On the third, she noticed a quiet interest in the numbers rising. On the fourth, she remembered a neighbor she meant to call. No click she could name, only the absence of the tyrant's orders and the presence of enoughness. In him we live and move and have our being. She did not say, I did it. She said, I was carried. That is right order. That is humility. That is evidence. Guard your heart against the vanity that would make a religion of results. Do not parade the small signs or turn them into a barter with God. No, no. We do not claim personal power. We witness divine sufficiency expressing. The sign is not the thing. It is the fruit that tells you the root is healthy. When the breath loosens, say inwardly, thank you, not look what I did. When the thought delays and you pass through the doorway anyway, say thou, not I. I live, yet not I, but Christ liveth in me. In that humility, the evidence multiplies because there is no self there to tax it, no idol to siphon it off into pride or fear. And now you see the bridge appearing. If these small signs are the fruits, what would it mean to plant the tree in better soil? If grace keeps proving itself in the moment, how shall we arrange a day that is less hospitable to emergency and more hospitable to sufficiency? Not by building a fortress, not by scheduling God, but by living in such a way that silence has a chair at your table, that love keeps the door unlocked, that no other gods are enthroned in your calendar. We move from evidence to integration next, from glimpses to a way of life, for the law that proves itself in a hallway can govern a household, a schedule, a city of the heart. Seek ye first the kingdom, and all these things find their order. We will speak of that order. A day lived from sufficiency rather than emergency, where grace need not interrupt, because grace is welcomed as the atmosphere. Integration means we cease treating peace as a rescue team and begin receiving it as climate. A day lived from sufficiency turns panic into an occasional visitor who finds no throne prepared. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, not as a mood, but as a rule of order. Let us keep the rule simple, light, faithful. Morning, before the news, before the lists. 2 minutes of holy uselessness. Sit where the body does not intrude, eyes closed, hands loose. There is no occult reason for this. It is comfort that removes distraction. We are not going to get anything, not going to make anything happen. We are consenting to be where God already is. One inward acknowledgement. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. Then be still, 2 minutes by the clock, if you like, desireless, receptive. Be still and know that I am God. If a phrase rises, let it be a kiss, not a lever. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then let even that fall back into silence. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. We begin the day not as managers, but as instruments waiting on the musician. Midday, 30 seconds, the reset in its simplest form. Wherever you find yourself at the sink, the curb, the corridor, do not prepare a stage. One natural breath not counted. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things once as recognition. Then silence, alert, unambitious, consenting, no checking, no scanning, no second fear about whether the first is leaving. Now is the accepted time. This is preparedness without dread, like knowing where the door is, not staring at it, like knowing where the light switch rests in the dark, not standing all day with your hand on it. Carry the key lightly, without superstition, without drama. Evening, one sentence of gratitude. Not a report on symptoms, not a scorecard. One witness, spoken or written. Thank you for sufficiency appearing today as, and let it be small and exact. Give us this day our daily bread. Then close the ledger of the day with forgiveness. Forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Release the names and the faces and the small offenses that your nervous system has been paying interest on. Let not the sun go down upon your wrath. This is not moral embroidery. It is nervous system mercy. Resentment is emergency rehearsed. Forgiveness is the surrender of self-importance to law. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow release, reap rest. When you practice non-urgency, generosity with time, a refusal to take what is not yours attention, credit, air, you are aligning with the cosmic traffic law that keeps collisions from the intersection of your soul. In such obedience, the body unclenches because the conscience is clean. Now a warning that God's purity. Never tamper with law by trying to bend persons or events with holy words. Do not take thy grace as thy sufficiency and lay it on your neighbor as a tool to make them conform to your comfort. That rebound will visit your own door, not as punishment from a person, but as consequence woven into the fabric of law as surely as 2 times 2 is 4. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. I hope you will never try to do it. Do not project, do not advise bodies or command circumstances. Keep the practice pure. Seek God, not outcomes. Consent, do not coerce. The law keeps itself. Preparedness without dread also means we do not live as sentries. We are not patrolling the perimeters of sensation. We are not cartographers of risk, etching every corridor with red ink. Take no thought for the morrow. Know where the door is. Yes, greet the day without staring at the exit sign. Peace is not passive. It is rightly governed. When the mind wants to build an emergency room in every room, answer gently, no, no. Sufficiency is the atmosphere. Emergency is no longer the architect. Let us seal the pattern upon the heart by practicing once more. Wherever you are, allow one unforced breath, the permission, not the cure. Inwardly, not loudly, as recognition, not magic. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then be still for 30 seconds, if you will, awake, desireless, consenting. If the click comes, bless it. If there is only quiet rightness, bless it. I am not in the physical. Absent from the body, present with the Lord. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. God is the actor. I am the instrument. This is the day's rule. Morning stillness, midday remembrance, evening thanks and release. Lived so, sufficiency stops knocking as a stranger and is known as household presence. And when panic visits, it finds no throne, no altar, only a room already occupied by peace. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Now let us end where we began, simply, without ornament, in the holiness of enough. Sit as you are, or adjust so the body does not intrude. Hands loose, feet grounded, eyes closed or softly lowered. There is no occult reason for posture. It is comfort so that the body steps out of the way. We are not trying to make anything happen. We are consenting to what already is. Allow one natural breath, the permission, not the cure. Do not count. Do not steer. Let it arrive by itself. Now inwardly, once, as recognition, not as a lever. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Let it rest in the heart as if it had found its home. And now we are quiet together, alert, desireless, consenting for these few moments. Be still and know that I am God. 30 seconds of shared silence. If a click came, bless it. If there was only the clean plainness of rightness, bless that. My conscious oneness with God constitutes my oneness with all spiritual being and idea. I am not in the physical, absent from the body, present with the Lord. And now we seal identity not as flattery, but as fact revealed. In my oneness with God, I find completeness. In my oneness with God, I find security. In my oneness with God, I find peace. In my oneness with God, I find guidance. In my oneness with God, I find supply. In my oneness with God, I find rest. In my oneness with God, I find courage. In my oneness with God, I find joy. In my oneness with God, I find simplicity. I and my Father are one. Carry this gently. Do not turn it into a project. Save this little pattern for the next wave. It is yours already, one breath, one phrase, one silence. Return without shame. 100 times. If the door is knocked 100 times, in quietness and in confidence shall be your strength, Share it only if love asks it of you, never to instruct the body, never to win a point, never to decorate yourself, never to bend an outcome. God is the actor and the doer and the beer. I am merely the instrument. If you speak at all of what has helped you, let it be as witness, not as wand. Freely ye have received, freely give. And gratitude, let gratitude finish what words begin. Not a bargain, not a receipt, simply the acknowledgement that the giver and the gift are one. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. The peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds. As you sow, so shall ye reap. Sow thanks, reap rest. So we close as we began, with a password that is no password at all, but the truth of the heart spoken back to its source. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things, and so it is. I thank thee.